So let's go to Eden again. We're going to go back. I know I've been talking a lot about this story, and it's because um, the power of mythology is that it explains not how things happen, but why things are the way they are. And this is why we keep going back to the story of the creation of Adam and Eve and the fall, is because it really sets up all of the story that follows. Like, why does Jesus even have to come and do what he does? It's because of this story in Genesis chapter 3. And remember, the serpent lied to Eve and told her that if you eat this fruit, you will become like God. The result, though, was not that we became more like God, we actually became less divine. Rebellion against God doesn't result in self-fulfillment, but actually self-estrangement. And this is what happened. We didn't become more like God, we became less like God. The only way we were closer to God is that we knew what evil was. But even that makes us more distant from God, because we actually knew evil because we were doing evil, and God never does anything evil, never does sin, never does anything wicked. His very nature is good, and so the only way we can know evil is actually by doing it, and that actually estranges us from God more. So here we were now with this estrangement from God, from nature. You think about the curses that follow. By the sweat of your brow you will eat your bread, and the earth will give you thorns and thistles instead of the things that you grow. I am I was thinking about this today. I'm trying to grow grapes, and every year something happens to my grapes. This year I had a bunch of grapes, beautiful grapes growing on the vines that are still survived. Many of them have died, and I'm thinking, oh, maybe I'll get to make wine this year. I've been wanting. I planted these grapes 10 years ago, in hopes that someday I'd get some wine. And I'm thinking, okay, now maybe this is the year that I'm gonna get some wine out of my grapes. And a fungus has come and blighted all of the beautiful grapes. So, yeah, I feel like Adam right now. I work, and instead of receiving the fruits from my labor, all this stuff happens. So we're estranged from nature. Instead of living in harmony with animals, with our environment, like Adam and Eve did in the garden, we have this tendency to rape and plunder the environment, to use it. We don't act as stewards and caretakers of the natural world, but we tend to try and just use what we can from it as a source of raw materials. We don't live in harmony with it, right? So we're estranged from nature. We're estranged from one another. The immediate consequence of the fall was Adam and Eve began to blame each other for what had happened. God says to Adam, "Have you eaten from the fruit that I told you not to eat?" And Adam says, the woman that you gave me, so he blames God as well, you gave her to me, she gave it to me. It's her fault. So they throw each other under the bus. So they're estranged from each other. They also, the first thing they do is they realize that they are naked. Now, that doesn't mean they didn't know they were naked before. It means that they recognize that when they look at each other now, they do with this sort of lustful desire to use each other. And so then they begin to hide each other with the fig leaves that they knit, right? Because, again, they don't have this beautiful harmony in their sexual relationship anymore. Now they want to use each other for their own raw pleasure. And then they're also estranged from themselves. I don't know about you, but every week, couple times a week usually, I have this moment where I'm like not very happy with myself. Why am I doing these things? Where am I? What am I? Or anxieties, or different sorts of worries that needle me, and I just don't have peace in myself and in who I am. I can't receive myself as a gift from God because I'm not at peace with myself, right? So we have all this estrangement that comes as a result of a rebellion. The whole point of the rebellion was self-fulfillment. You will be like gods, and yet it winds up not being fulfilling at all. So when we left the garden, we were actually less like God than we were before, and consequently we were less human as well, because God created us in his image and his likeness. So to be human is actually to, in some respect, naturally to partake in the divine nature. And our rebellion wipes that all away. And this is what Jesus came to restore to us, to actually show us what it means to be human, what it means to be a human being partaking in the divine nature. He comes to restore all of this. And that's why it's so important to get these questions of morality right. Because what it means to be human is to be in communion with God, but also to be in right relationship with each other.